E3.
Brothers and sisters, welcome to the Not So Super Bash Brews E3 coverage for 2018. The penultimate conference is here, and it's Sony Entertainment. Hans Davis, how are you?
I am so excited, Nick. We are at the last day of conferences, which means I don't have to edit shit tomorrow.
No, you just gotta upload stuff. Yeah, it's the last day of conference, and that means I go back to work tomorrow.
Yeah, and I don't. I have a day off to literally sit around and jack it. Just go nuts. Just go nuts on myself now.
You do that, Hans. You do that.
I will.
But yes, with the promise of Sony having a weird conference this year, they announced ahead of time not to expect much other than The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, and SpiderMan. And you know what? That's kind of what they did.
I agree, but I love this conference. I know we do this at the end, but I fucking love this conference.
I have issues with this conference, but not to do with what they showed, mainly just because of the pacing of it. It was a bit weird. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We kick off. We're in a church tent. And then some homeless man comes out on stage.
Oh, Nick, that's mean.
Gustavo something, I'm forgetting his surname. It's the composer of The Last of Us 2. He does a bit of a live banjo performance of a track from the game. And we kick off into Last of Us 2 gameplay and cutscenes. Hans.
I did think it was quite clever how they set up the church to look like the dance in the game.
That made me think, are they going to do... Or like, after this they said, oh, they're moving people into another like stage. I was wondering, are they going to have like a themed area for each game?
They're just going to shuffle people in between each like stage demo.
It's like, are we going to have like this feudal Japan thing for Ghost of Tsushima? And then I was like, what the fuck would you do for Death Stranding?
Just a bunch of babies like
a maternity ward. Yeah, so we get a cutscene first of what seems like Ellie in kind of the settlement that I assume the settlement that her and Joel went back to at the end of the first one. And obviously this is a couple of years later and Ellie is a bit more grown up. And we get quite possibly the most realistic kiss ever done in a video game.
Fair balls, dude.
That was phenomenal looking.
Do you realise how much work that probably took?
And yeah, that cuts in, this segs into a actual gameplay demo of Ellie kind of, what seems like out on a scavenge for supplies, I assume, and kind of running into some bother. And at the end of the day, I think this kind of looks like a lot more Last of Us.
There was a couple of... I didn't play the Last of Us. It seemed like the demo, that they were shying away from takedowns. Like, there was a good couple of opportunities I thought, oh, they'll just take this guy down, but instead they avoided them. Was there any reason for that?
Well, a lot of The Last of Us is trying not to actually start combat. Like, there is very little advantage to like doing open combat in the original. So a lot of the original one is kind of more skirting around the edges of combat, and if you can avoid people, that's a good idea. Because even like if they discover a body, you have to finish that combat sequence. If a body is discovered, like, you will not be able to leave the area, essentially. Like, it puts people on high alert, essentially, and you have to then see out the combat.
I saw a lot of complaints about it, saying it seemed very choreographed. Like,
yeah, like, one of my notes is, like, if this is as dynamic as it seems, that's insane, but I suspect a lot of this is maybe forced.
Like, that going underneath the car thing, can you just hide underneath cars, or is that a cutscene? Because, like... It's cool, like, you know, you can hide underneath the car, but when she's pulled out, does that mean she's pulled out like that every time she's found in that cover or something? So, I don't know, all in all, it was very cool looking. Wonder if they'll bring back the zombie infected stuff.
One of the coolest things, I think, and it's such a little thing, was she jumps in like the other area, essentially, and there's a bottle there, and in like what I hope is like one fluid motion when you're playing it is she picks up the bottle and throws it at a guy. Like, without having to stop or anything, it's just I picked that bottle up, I instantly was able to aim and throw that bottle at a person, and that was fucking cool.
Yeah, I know. I imagine, like, because Naughty Dog have always been quite good of like making everything seem so fluid. Like, even in the Uncharted games, you know, you can pick up a new gun while still you don't break your stride and keep running. I loved the writing in that trailer for the considering it was like what the trailer and gameplay at most was like 10 minutes. The writing was fucking amazing between like, oh, I'm not a threat, you are a threat, and then she just shows like them her
cuts to her stabbing a guy in the throat.
And then, like, that is just amazing writing. Also, oh my god, I hate the internet, Nick.
Why?
See, when they kissed, it was just either people in the chat going, gross fucking dykes, or, oh, I've got a massive boner right now. And I'm just like, are you fucking children? Seriously?
I was, doing a Twitter, like, feed you, oh, you may have missed this type of stuff now. One of the tweets from one of the games journalists I follow was like, oh, did I hear the screaming in the distance of thousands of people saying, oh, I'm not going to buy this now because there's lesbians in it?
For as much as I enjoy being a gamer, gamers are fucking children, like.
Yep, no date for that, which kind of starts a trend at this show where I'm wondering, are any of, bar SpiderMan, obviously, which has a date, are any of these games coming out this year? Because, spoilers, Ghost didn't get a release date, and anything that was, obviously, Death Stranding didn't get a release date, and anything that did have a date was for next year. This is where the pacing issues, I feel like, came into play, where they were like, alright, they cut back to this panel that we're sitting in a completely different area, and we're like, oh, we're going to chat a bit while they move the audience. And I was like, hold on a second, what?
Yeah.
So, for some, like, they were literally just in there for 20 minutes, maybe, and then they shuffled the audience into an actual theater, which kind of, and you could tell maybe they were stalling for time a bit. But then we get a trailer for Black Ops 4, which that's going to have some remastered old Black Ops maps. We get a trailer for Destiny 2, newest DLC coming out, Forsaken, coming out on the 4th of September. And then we cut back to the theater with everyone in it, and we get a extended look at Ghost of Tsushima.
Nick, let's talk about Ghost of
Hans,
that place.
did you get a really, really big Witcher vibe from all this?
I really did, yeah.
Yeah, it was like something about the way the camera was, like the look of the area. I was like, this just seems like The Witcher 3.
The whistling to get your horse to come
Yeah,
over.
like you could have squinted and you would have thought, oh, it's The Witcher. Yeah, it was oddly familiar. I'm not saying that in a bad way.
Yeah.
But it was like weirdly on the nose as like something that seemed like The Witcher.
If it's done to the same standard of The Witcher, we're not going to complain, let's be honest.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
That skybox though, Nick.
Everything about this looked
holy
really
shit.
fucking, even like from him walking up and like looking over the like that field, like everything, the way the grass was moving looked like with the wind and all looked incredible. All the sunsets and like the way the light pierced the trees looked awesome, and that duel at the end where like they were in this field of like red leaves. It was, the style of this game is fucking top notch. Story
wise, it seems, because I had watched that one trailer before that was released for GameCon, was it, or something? But yeah, so the story seems to be set during Mongolians trying to take over China. I wonder if every time you face someone who is also a samurai of such,
will it kind of be that more
that sort
dynamic,
of boss fight, because it's really cool. No, as I said, it looks really, really good. It's still quite an unknown quantity at this point. Yeah. But
again, it's something similar to Anthem. Yeah, it's something I want to see more of, what the gameplay loop is in that. I
think it makes for a new IP. That made a really good first impression to me. So it did. So I'm very excited for that.
And again, there's no date attached to that. So God only knows when it's coming. We get a trailer for Control, which is a new game by Remedy, the Alan Wake and Quantum Break people. That looked trippy as fuck.
It did. It kind of looks like, part of me thinks it's like some sort of like psychic facility or something you're going into. Was this really the only big quote-unquote reveal?
Yeah, probably.
Although I did really enjoy this conference, I would say that was one of my issues, was that there was no big... I know they pretty much admitted that beforehand. You know, you kind of always hold out that little bit of hope that, maybe they're just playing us and maybe they will make a massive reveal of something. Yeah. But if this is their biggest reveal, I'm sure Alex will be very happy, but I'm not.
We get a trailer for a Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yeah, that looked quite cool, actually.
Yeah, that's coming out 25th of January. Get a trailer for Trover Saves the World, a new game by the one of the co-creators of Rick and Morty. And then, Hans, we get our third trailer in 2 days for Kingdom Hearts 3. But at least it's a different trailer this time, Hans.
Nick?
Yeah?
I'm not playing Kingdom Hearts 3 anymore. Why? That's too much water for me. No, it's too much water for me. That is too much water, alright?
This trailer confirms the Pirates of the Caribbean world will be returning, and then it just seems like the trailer becomes Black Flag at one point. Like, you're steering a ship and it straight up has like the Black Flag like aiming stuff and all. It's so weird.
Yeah, but again, and we touched this earlier, the fucking size of that fucking world. Oh my god. Between you can just dive into the ocean or fly across the sky or be on the ship. That is actually ridiculous, the size of that sumbitch. I know this is like, so we've seen so many Kingdom Hearts trailers, but each one still somehow gets me more and more excited for the game. It's a real shame we have to wait till January.
There's a teasing trailer about new 7 Hearts of Light, so that's kind of probably harkening back towards
the 7 Dragon Balls, yeah.
The 7 Princesses of Heart from the first one.
Oh.
So I'm assuming maybe that's where Elsa and Rapunzel kind of come into the story. They also announced there will be a Kingdom Hearts limited edition console.
It looked quite nice, actually.
Yeah, and it seemed like they were teasing like the ability to buy a complete bundle of the 1.5, 2.5, 2.8, and 3.
I don't have enough time left on my life to play through all 3 of those games.
So, but yeah, it's probably a smart idea at this point, considering it's been so long since all those games.
I mean, really, like realistically, the main games of that have skipped an entire generation.
Yeah.
Like, nothing was released on the PS3.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
And then, Hans, it happens. Death Stranding.
Fucking actually see gameplay now of Death Stranding.
I have a vague clue about what this game might be now, but I'm still so confused.
I got one thing from it, and that is you work as a courier.
Yeah, I'll run through what I think is happening. I think you're a courier, and that is why you're like transporting weird shit half the time.
At one point, he was straight up carrying a body bag.
Yeah, and at one point he was like had like 5 things stacked on his back, walking across a bridge.
Yeah.
And then I don't know where they come into it or like why they're there, but these monsters seem to rapidly age people. And I think that's what the babies are. I think the babies are like premature clones of people. And then whenever they're attached, that is them being able to like transfer their consciousness into the baby. So when they get rapidly aged, the baby also ages to where they are.
Right, okay.
So like when they rapidly age to death, the baby is also rapidly aging. But
so it
because they are
to like 40 or something.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that's when he connects himself to the baby, it's kind of like a feel-safe. So like, oh, if I die, my consciousness is transferred into the baby.
I can understand that, and like the monsters themselves seem to have umbilical cords, so I guess like that kind of ties into the whole idea of age.
Yeah, he pulls his toenail off at one point. That was fucked.
Yeah, I think you're right, because like at a certain point as well, that new character with the weird umbrella, the very ineffective umbrella,
that was really weird.
eats like a very tiny fetus. It's just Kojima being like, yeah, fuck it, let's do this.
There was like a gap in the credits at the end, and I'm assuming that was intentional for something. Like, did you notice like when it was doing the names, it was like, oh, Norman Reedus, Mad Milk, and then there was like a gap, and before it had the 2 other names. I'm assuming that's intentional.
Yeah, there's probably another famous person to be announced or something.
But yeah, no date on that still.
Still mostly unknown quantity, but it was nice to see some gameplay.
Yeah, it was nice to actually kind of, it now at least seems to, it's speaking to what that game is now at least.
Yeah, instead of just abstract trailers.
Then we get a trailer for Neo 2, which I thought this seems very early, like Neo only came out like less than 2 years ago, I think. And then we get our final game of the evening, Hans. More SpiderMan. And I think, is this the first reveal of like a proper well, I know Mr. Negative is a Spider-Man villain, but is like a first like big name Spider-Man villain, for lack of a better term?
I mean, you say a big name, there was like 4 of them there now.
Yeah, but is this the first time we've seen like big names in the Spider-Man? Because I think it's only really been Mr. Negative so far, hasn't it?
So far it's only been Mr. Negative. They seem to me it seems like they're teasing the return of the Sinister Six.
Yeah, that's what I have here. Like they have 4 members of the Sinister Six at least here.
Mr. Negative would make a 5th, and then there seems to be a return at the end, but you don't see who it is.
I was very negative on the demo last year. I think this was a far better demo.
Yeah, I agree. I think that chasing scene around the raft was really, really good. It kind of showed off the swinging mechanic, but it also showed that, it's not just a way to get from A to B. The combat still looks like Batman, which is fine with me, as long as it's done to a good, the kind of the same standard.
But even just like they were showing like bits of him just like there was no swinging, but then you were also getting like, oh, there's a quick grapple point here, and that stuff, like, it seemed very fluid of him like swinging, and then suddenly it was like, oh, the game's detecting you're close enough to this wall, so you'll automatically switch to like running on the wall. Like, it made everything look a lot more fluid than I think it came across last year.
I also think story-wise, it seems to be on a really good path for it. Like, obviously they've already teased like possibly Miles Morales coming into it, but like, you know, that to me was quite an interesting wee segment of like, okay, so Electro's breaking people out of prison, possibly the reunion of the Sinister Six. You have the added element of Spider-Man working with the police. So I say I am still very positive. I was obviously positive on it when I first saw it. I'm still very positive on it. Is it August is its release date?
9th September or something like that. It's very early September. I'm a lot more positive on it now because I know I was very negative last year, but I think it seemed very much like a Arkham clone. And yeah, while it's still like has a lot of elements of Arkham, I think they've done a lot now to kind of differentiate it and show an awful lot more of like it. I think the biggest worry for a lot of people was the swinging seemed very canned in that demo last year. Like there was a lot of it was like, oh, you're swinging towards this thing, and then it just like immediately puts you into like, oh, a quick time event. And I think showing that him like swinging around the raft seemed a lot more dynamic and fluid than anything they showed last year. But no, I'm a lot more optimistic about it now. I do think maybe the combat will still be very Arkham derivative, but so are most games these days. Yeah, and then that was the end of the show. It was a very sudden ending. Yeah. Like it kind of just zoomed out and it's like, alright, that's it, bye. That was kind of my whole issue with the show, is it seemed very oddly paced. Like, moving the whole crowd into a new theater seemed completely pointless, considering I think that entire time in that new theater there was one person on stage, and that was a guy playing the flute for the opening of Ghost of Tsushima. And then it just seemed like that wasted so much time, where people could have just been in that in that original theater or in that theater they all moved to.
I really enjoyed this. There was no bullshit. The live performances were quick and effective. They showed development. The two things I agree with were the pacing was a bit off, but it's kind of more of a nitpick than anything else. It's a nitpick for us watching at home. For the people actually there, that's probably a bit more of a nuisance being shuffled about. And yeah, the lack of kind of any big reveal. Can I say one thing, because I don't think it'll be relevant at the end of the Nintendo one, but it'll be relevant here. We haven't seen a single thing about Final Fantasy this entire conference.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, at the end, obviously, I don't know if we're going to do it at the end of Nintendo or do, like, a whole end show.
Oh, no, we'll do it at the end of Nintendo because it's short, but I just thought because Nintendo was definitely not going to show Final Fantasy VII
like,
Remake.
There's a lot of notable absences, like, this year, I think. Still, like, I think there are games that were absent last year that I was probably near certain would be here this year that are still not here, and I don't see them being at Nintendo. But yeah, that is it for Sony, and one more press conference left. Nintendo at 5? 6?
5.
5.
5.
You're saying 5?
5 BST.
You're saying 5 with a lot of authority, I'll believe you. But for now, it is a goodbye from Hans.
Have a good one, Nick.
And it's a goodbye from me. We saw that baby's ass.
Baby got back.
Oh! God damn it, Hans.
Yeah, nailed it.